Hello, and welcome to Nonprofit Nation. I'm your host, Julia Campbell, and I'm going to sit down with nonprofit industry experts, fundraisers, marketers, and everyone in between to get real and discuss what it takes to build that movement that you've been dreaming of. I created the Nonprofit Nation podcast to share practical wisdom and strategies to help you confidently find your voice, definitively grow your audience, and effectively build your movement. If you're a nonprofit newbie or an experienced professional who's looking to get more visibility, reach more people, and create even more impact, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to the Nonprofit Nation podcast. Thrilled to have you here. I am your host, Julia Campbell, and today we are talking all things monthly donor programs. I know this is something that a lot of my clients, a lot of my students struggle with or have questions about. They want to grow them. They want to scale them. They have a lot of just interest in these programs. So we have the preeminent international monthly donor program expert with us today, Erica Waasdorp. Erica lives and breathes direct response and fundraising. And I love this in her bio, can be considered a philanthropy-holic, building partnerships and trying to find the best solution for members and donors and client needs are what Erica does best. Her multilingual skills and multicultural experience are of added value to those clients interested in raising money internationally. And her experience in monthly giving has given her an edge for those clients who are ready to embark on this way of giving. Erica started her company, A Direct Solution, in December of 2003 with more than 20 years of experience in direct marketing from both sides of the desk, on the client side and the agency side. She's since worked with numerous nonprofit clients on and off Cape, as well as internationally. And when we say Cape, what do we mean, Erica?
That means Cape Cod. Yeah,
yes,
Cape Cod.
Massachusetts,
Yes,
another Massachusetts person. So welcome to the podcast.
Oh, right. Well, thanks, Julia, for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am thrilled that you're here. So can you tell us a little bit about your story, how you got involved with nonprofit work and some of the things that you're doing now?
Yeah, so, the reason why I'm multilingual and international is because I'm Dutch originally. So when I moved to this country now almost 29 years ago, I started working for a international nonprofit, a big international animal welfare organization on Cape Cod. I had moved to Cape Cod, so I was thrilled that there was an organization there that I could help. And I had a direct response, direct mail background. So it was a really, really good fit. And again, speaking the languages. And that's where they asked me to take on the monthly giving program. So that's where I really got my feet wet even more on monthly giving. And again, in my direct response background, I had worked on loyalty programs, at a publishing company before. So it was almost a natural move into the nonprofit and the monthly giving arena. And I really grew that program. I mean, we started in 3 countries and we went to 6 countries. I mean, lots of hands-on stuff and working with banks and people and systems and everything. And that was in the days that email didn't exist. I mean, online giving did not exist. I mean, texting did not exist. Social media wasn't a thing. I mean, so it's a while ago. But yeah, so things have definitely changed. But I absolutely love working with nonprofits, and you do great work. You make a difference. And I like helping you as fundraisers make a difference. I wrote the first book, Monthly Giving, The Sleeping Giant, when I was about to turn 50. So I'm like, wow, I got to do something for my 50th. And then I saw in this bookstore that was at conferences, when they still had bookstores at conferences, that there's no book on monthly giving. And so I said, oh, well, if there's no book on monthly giving, maybe I should write it. And I did the research, and then I saw that there was 2 other books out there, one by Ken Burnett and one by Harvey McKinnon, and that had been a while. So it was time to do that.
Well, I love that. I mean, helping nonprofits create vibrant and growing monthly donor programs is your specialty, your niche. something that you've definitely built your business around and established your expertise. And my question is, why are monthly donors important, and why focus so much on this aspect of fundraising?
Yeah. Well, again, number one, I kind of grew into it, obviously, but I saw the power of monthly giving working at this international animal welfare organization because 9/11 happened. And we saw the money kept coming in, even though we were not able to get any mail out or didn't want to mail, in certain areas of the country because everybody was so upset about 9/11, and the money kept coming in. So again, it really helped everybody understand, wow, these donors are important. They keep making sure that the money comes in no matter what happens. And we've seen this with the pandemic. We've seen it with disasters. We're seeing it with this war. I mean, all of that's happening in the world that we have no control over. But monthly donors keep supporting the organization that they care about in a way that helps sustain these organizations. So I think that's why, so you saw the power. And they're typically, monthly donors are not your big check writers. They're your small donors, and asking them to make a monthly gift is a way that it helps retain them. They will stay with you much longer. I mean, you're doubling your retention rate if you can get them to give monthly. And they're also going to give you more money.
True. At the end of the day, I definitely give more money monthly than at the end of the year when I had to buy 50 Lego sets and, all of the different presents for my family. And I think, oh, I've got to do my philanthropy, but giving monthly is so much more sustainable for me. And I think a lot of people, and also I will, like you just said, give more at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, normally you might give $50. Now you're giving $10 a month. Well, that's $120 a year, right? So I think that's really, the big factor. And I think people ask me all the time, like, well, why do people give monthly? And the reality is the number one reason why people give monthly is because they want to help. So they want to support your organization. They want to make a difference. And then the second thing is monthly giving is just a way that they can help in a way that's comfortable for them. So you're better off getting somebody to give you $10 a month than not get anything at all. Right. So, and I know sometimes people are like, well, yeah, but they're just small donors. And the reality is hey, you need to start with small donors so that you can upgrade them to higher level donors, right? And and I think that's really what happens with monthly giving is you convert them from a once a year to an appeal or online or a giving day, and now they're giving you $10, $20 a month. So.
And there's data around monthly givers being more loyal and easier to retain.
Yeah, easier to retain, more loyal. They'll leave you in their will. They're 6 times more likely to leave you in their will based on a UK study. I mean, so again, so in other words, your lifetime value goes up, so there's really no reason not to want to build your number of monthly donors. And I think the other side of it is, so it's easy for the donor, but the other side of it is in this day and age, thanks to, people like you, Julia, with the social media and, with all of these systems and payment platforms that make it a lot easier to make it happen. You have the tools.
Everything is a subscription basis. I think of everything in my life, Spotify, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. I just think of the way that we live as consumers. And I wish nonprofits would really start to look at that data and say, everyone just pays for everything as a subscription, or at least I'm not going to say I'm necessarily a younger person. I mean, I'm Gen X, but I think younger people especially are just used to, $5 a month for this, $10 a month for this. And they're just used to it as opposed to a one lump sum at the end of the year. 100%. I think that and you might correct me on this, but it's a mindset issue. And I loved that with nonprofits. I loved the blog post you wrote, the difference a quarter could make in monthly giving, because you grew up in the south of the Netherlands, not far from the German border. You write in your blog post and you talk about Aldi. And I've spent a lot of time in Germany and I love Aldi. And actually, I don't think I'm near an Aldi store. Is there one in Massachusetts?
There's a couple of actually. Yeah. So I can definitely, there's one in Wareham, just like a half an hour for me.
Well, I
So.
haven't been there, but you tell the story about the difference a quarter can make. Do you want to tell the story? I think it's just a great primer for nonprofits that say, just like you said, well, what's the mindset of a monthly donor and why would they give monthly and what does it mean?
Yeah. So Aldi, it's like, as far as I know, that's the only company in this country that when you get your shopping cart, you actually have to push in a quarter and then that sort of unlocks the shopping cart. You do your shopping, you come out and you bring back that shopping cart, you push it in and you get your quarter back. Everybody does return their cart just because they have that quarter, right? And again, in Europe, every single supermarket has that system, right? So, but here it's just the Aldi. So people, they even make it a game, and kids love doing it. Hey, let me push my quarter in, all that kind of stuff. So again, it's just a quarter and people return the card. Well, that's why, if you think about the fact that a quarter a day is $7.50 a month, right? So if people are willing to return their shopping cart for the sake of getting that quarter back, because especially older people, right? Really for them, a quarter, a dime, it still feels like a lot of money because it was a lot of money when they grew up, right? So I think that's like a sort of the mindset that monthly donors will have as well, saying like, hey, that quarter a day, that one shopping cart a day, can make a difference. So.
And going into strategy and tactics, what do you feel are the elements and what have you seen in your work? What are the elements of a successful monthly donor program if you're just starting out?
Yeah. So I think you mentioned the word mindset first. So you want to make sure that you have that mindset. So the success with a monthly giving starts with having a driver, a champion, an advocate for it. And again, if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching some of the stuff I present, then, it's probably going to be you. So you want to have like that one driver that says, you know what, I'm going to grow this program to the next level. I'm going to do everything I possibly can. And then it's a matter of like, okay, look at your tools because you have them. You have a website. You have a payment platform. You have a donor-based CRM, right? Those are the tools that you have. And now how can you then make sure that you let possible monthly donors know that you want them to consider that? Well, you're going to have to ask them. Right. So, I mean, it's like in one of my webinars, I sometimes ask like, how often do you ask your donors to consider a monthly gift? And then sometimes people say never. And it's like, okay, you're never going to get
Well,
new
if you
monthly
never
donors.
ask, then they'll never be able to say yes.
Right. So again, remember, donors want to help. So number one, you're going to have to tell your story, everything that you're already doing in your general fundraising, your stories, your examples of how donors can make a difference. That works in monthly giving as well. The only difference is instead of asking for a one-time gift, you're asking for a monthly gift. So add a button to your homepage, add a button to an email. I mean, and then link to a special monthly page, monthly payment page, if your system allows to do that. But just like, so start planting the seeds in your e-newsletter, in every email, on your social media. I mean, and just make it clear that it's okay to make a small monthly gift. Even $5 or $10 a month can make a difference, right? So, but you got to start asking. So, and I think that's like a lot of nonprofits aren't asking enough, so they're just like, oh, well, they have one e-newsletter a month and that's about it, right? So you just got to build in some options in what you're already doing. I mean, you can add a tick box to a reply form in an appeal, right? So a lot of low-hanging fruit, and it doesn't cost you any money to do it. It's just a little bit of space and a little bit of time. So that's the key. But then If you want to be really successful, if you really want to grow, I recommend like create a couple of I call them sustainer drives, monthly donor drives. So take 1 or 2 months a year where you say, hey, I don't have too much else going on. I'm not like in the, like on the email asking for a lot of like event invitations. It's not a gala, things like that. And pick a month, like January is usually a good month, or May is usually a good month. September is usually a pretty good month. So it's kind of staying away from some of the other heavy giving seasons, and say, okay, this month I'm going to take over the homepage and I'm going to focus on, instead of donate now, I want people to give monthly, and I'm going to send 2 emails instead of 1. And, so, I mean, the results are there. I was talking to a client just the other day. They did a Valentine's Day campaign. So it was like a week, and they did 3 emails during the week. Well, guess how many monthly donors they got? 55 new monthly donors, right? They had a small $5,000 match. It was a 3 email series, again, so with that deadline of the Valentine's Day, and they were said, well, we're looking for 50 new monthly donors. Well, guess what? They got 55. So that little match is magical, right? So matches are magical everywhere, right? But, rather than saying, well, I want to focus on all of these other giving days, well, consider a monthly giving day, or a monthly giving month. I mean, so.
You should institute National Monthly Giving Day.
Yeah. I think Monthly Donor Monday is kind of my, I think every Monday should be Monthly Donor Monday, but.
I love that. What does that mean? Tell me about that.
Monthly Donor Monday is just kind of like, because people ask me like, how much time should I spend on this? And my thing is like, well, how about like 1 hour a week, every Monday morning, you sit down and you say, hey, I'm going to look at, what does my page look like? What does my thank you look like? Hey, can I create an email? Can I add a little message to my e-news? And, so you just kind of chip away at it. And what happens is, as you grow, you will see that, spending a little bit more time is going to pay off even more, right? So start somewhere. And I think, again, that mindset of saying, hey, this makes sense. I have a lot of like small donors as an organization. Let me see what I can make happen here. And again, it's just, again, amazing. I mean, I started working with an organization last year, and they had 15 monthly donors. And we said, all right, this is another sort of tactical approach. It's like, we created a goal. Let's write down a goal. What do you want to do? And she says, well, I would like to triple it, 45. Okay. So, well, you know where they're at right now? They have 82. So again, it's just like they wrote down the goal, and we did a couple of these little things that I just mentioned.
Became more systematic and intentional.
Saying, okay, where can I add that in? Okay, hey, we have a membership renewal. Well, maybe I can put a little buck slip in there. Guess what? That generates new monthly donors, right? So it's not like, again, you have to change. I mean, it's not like you have to change a huge amount of things that you're already doing. It's just like, where can I add it in? It also permeates some bigger donors, right? So if major gift folks talk to major donors, well, somebody might say, and I had this example, somebody says, hey, we just got somebody who normally makes a $10,000 gift, and they said, well, you know what? I'm going to give $1,000 a month. Well, so now you've just made him $12,000 a year, right? So, and again, they're going to keep giving that. On next year, you can probably ask them for an upgrade, and maybe they'll give you $1,500 a month, right? So just like it permeates every other option there and every other giving level as well, because it is about the donor, how they want to help in a way that's comfortable for them. That's really the key. It's like, how is monthly giving is comfortable for them, but ultimately you have to ask them to help, and then you give them the option to make a monthly gift as an alternative for a one-time gift.
And now a word from our sponsor. I'm here to tell you that this podcast episode is sponsored by my newest free training, Social Media in 20 Minutes Per Day. This is where I give you my exact framework and process to schedule and organize your time so that social media does not take over your entire day and to-do list. Watch the replay for free at socialmediain20, that's 20, the number's 20.com. And be sure to tag me on social to let me know what you think. That's socialmediain20.com. Thanks for listening and enjoy. And if you don't tell them that this is an option, they're not going to automatically know. And that's what I do think a lot of nonprofits don't understand. We have the curse of knowledge. We know so much about our donation page, our fundraising options. And a lot of people don't even know about monthly giving or know that it's an option. And I might give monthly to one nonprofit, but not know that another nonprofit, this is an option for me. So I think the more you can convey it and promote it and talk about the impact. And I love what you said about doing a campaign that might have a little bit of sense of urgency, maybe a couple times a year, a matching gift, something that will help them make that decision right at that moment. A question I do have you have to name your program?
Well, it's a great question.
And what should you name it? I know everyone's going to have a different answer.
So when I started in monthly giving, having a name, joining a program, with joining a special group was really, really important. Now it's much more about you want people to consider making the monthly gift first. And then once they do, you'll tell them that they'll become part of a special community of supporters. So if at first you don't have a name, don't let that stop you from promoting the program, because again, you have that option on your payment forms, right? You can make it monthly, and then just brainstorm. Again, don't spend a lot of money on coming up with a name and a brand, because you certainly don't need brands in it, don't need a specific logo per se or whatever. And then just say, well, all right, we want to come up with a name for a loyal donor group that we can live with for a while, because you want to be able to live with it for a while. You don't want to change it every couple of years, right? And then the two words I would recommend you stay away from is the word legacy and society, because that kind of it's a different type of group, if you will. But other than that, just brainstorm. Sit down and brainstorm and say, oh, okay, what, and just kind of what comes to mind. And then, you might have a list of 10, 15, you see what other organizations are doing. I mean, circle of friends, partners, sustaining partner, champions, guardians, So, and then there's hope builders and innkeepers and, the Spring and the Bridge and, the Clinton Foundation, the Bridge. And, so there's the Rock, so there's lots and lots of names. But they got to fit your organization. So kind of come up with a list and say, hey, walk around and, or call up a couple people, or maybe even ask your donors. And I've seen organizations do that and saying, hey, we want to come up with a special name for a loyal donor group. What do you think about these two options? Vote for one. And then you'll just use it and move on, so it's not going to break or make the donors want to consider a monthly gift.
Exactly. We spend so much time on the name and the branding and the perfect pitch for it. And it's just, at the end of the day, the donors don't really care. They just want to know that the money is going to go towards a problem that they want to get solved.
Exactly. They want to help. So, and the same with benefits. People are like, well, it's got to be this fancy benefit program. And I'm all for keeping it simple, right? So you want to, when you're talking about what do people get if they, make a monthly gift, you want to make it something that you can commit to, you as a fundraiser can commit to, no matter how busy you get, right? So just tell them, now that you're joining this special group of hope builders, you'll get special updates on how your gifts are making a difference. And every January you get a tax letter in the mail. So those are two things. The updates, you don't have to specify how often, what it looks like, that you don't have to do any of that. You just say you'll get special updates on how your gifts are making a difference. And those updates or your e-newsletters, if you have a print newsletter. I mean, all of the other things that you're already doing. So you don't have to add stuff. And I mean, if you're an organization that does a lot of events, you might say, well, you get special event invitations, for example. So, and you would be inviting them anyhow, right? So, but keep it simple. And you don't need a tchotchke. You don't need a tote bag. You don't need anything that costs money, because donors, that's not what motivates them per se. No. I mean, I know, organizations out there, like special on TV, that, they offer like a t-shirt or whatever. The t-shirt is not what makes me consider it. It's the message that I'm like, oh my God, I'm so moved. I want to help. And monthly happens to be the way that I want to do this, so.
I totally agree. I give any organization that I give to, unless it's something like emergency relief and I'm making a one-time gift, like I always give monthly. I would say I don't think I ever receive anything special for being a monthly donor, other than just maybe a text message once in a while or a special email. But it's nothing where I've gotten some crown and scepter and gotten some red carpet rollout event. It's mostly just, this is a different way of helping, and you're going to be treated like other donors, which is, we're going to show you the impact. We're going to show you what your gift has done, and we're going to continually make you proud to support us. So that's just never been a big driver for me. I do know a question that people are going to ask, and you did touch on it a little bit, but where do we find these monthly donors? Where can we look for potential monthly donors?
Yeah. So, I mean, you typically would look in your own database to begin with. But I know there's definitely a huge opportunity. It depends a little bit on the mission. In social media and paid ads, that's definitely an area of digital acquisition of new monthly donors is growing. But you start with your donor base. It's typically your small donors, so they give you less than $250, right? They're not your big check writers. And then it depends a little bit on like, how often are you appealing to your donors now? If you get donors who give, when you send an email, that's a great approach, right? If they've given you 2 gifts in the last year, that's a really good target group to get started with. But, so, and again, nowadays, if you send emails, don't worry too much about like segmenting that, when you're trying to acquire new monthly donors, but you can just do a test and do another test and, tell the story. I mean, and I think the other piece is like, you don't even have to make a totally separate email. You can have an email that you send with the story asking for help, with a one-time gift ask and a monthly gift ask in it. One of my clients, they do that. They have 2 buttons every email, and they have like a 2-liner saying monthly giving, will make your gift work even harder, and, we can do more, blah, 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 blah. And they are blown away by the number of monthly donors that they get every time they send out this email. So, and it's not suppressing, it's not hurting the one-time gift response.
That's a question that I think people have. Do you feel that, and that's definitely pushback I've gotten from some clients, where they say, oh, well, we can't ask our $500 a year donors because then they're just going to want to give $10 a month.
Yeah. But again, here's the thing. You want to drive people to a page where you have multiple options. So the 500, and, so you might have a $10 a month and 25 and, 20, 25 and 50 and maybe 85, right? So you have a couple of different options on the monthly donor page. And then the $500 a month, $500 donor might say, oh, I can do $85 a month. Well, you've now just doubled their value. I actually bought this t-shirt for Christmas for myself. It says, hold on, let me overthink this.
Yes, I have that shirt.
You have that shirt too. Okay.
I'm going to send a photo and tag you. Hold on, let me overthink
it. I gotta put it on, but it's just like, it's like, yeah, hold on, let me overthink this. So it's one email, guys. It's one email. So if it works, great. If that $500 donor gives an $85 a month, fantastic, right? So, a lot of organizations they're not sending a lot of email.
I think that's the whole point. They're overthinking it, and they're not asking enough, or they're not asking as frequently as they should be.
Right. So it's one email. So you might do one that goes through, you ask a one-time gift, one day, and then later on the week you might use the same story and you ask for a monthly gift. I mean, it's an email. What do you got to lose by doing it? So it's just yeah. So it's like we're way overthinking that, and so I think that's the key. It's like if you see, and this is one of the tricks, if you will, like whenever you look at your monthly donors, annualize the value. So, because sometimes I ask people, like, oh, how many monthly donors do you have? Well, I've got 120. Okay. I was talking to somebody yesterday. Oh, okay. And, well, how much is it worth? I don't know. Well, she looked and she ran a report and she saw, wow, these 120 monthly donors are worth $69,000, right? So all of a sudden you're like, yeah, wow, hey, let's double that number, right? So that's maybe one event or two events you don't have to do, right? So, and again, obviously every organization is different. Every organization has to kind of customize their plan, if you will, because some people are doing 2 appeals a year and 5 emails, and so just look at where can you add in those opportunities for donors to consider to make a monthly gift, and chip away at it.
Chip away at it. What you said was so important in terms of baking it into everything else you do. And I know this, a lot of what nonprofits do is we tend to segment things and put them in a bucket. Like social media is over here and we're going to do this and we're not going to integrate it in everything else we're doing, or emails over here, major gifts is over here, programs are over here, monthly giving's over here, but incorporating it into everything that you do, baking it into your other appeals and your programmatic goals is super important. You can't just send one email every 2 years and say, hey, do you want to be a monthly donor? And then Erica, like someone will come to you and say, well, we don't have any monthly donors. And you're going to look at that and say, well, did you make the case? Did you talk to your donors about it? Do they really understand it? And is it baked into everything else that you do? And I think that's so important.
Yeah. And again, and that's why maybe like having that sustainer drive is so important and fun, because then you can bake everything together, right? You could talk in social media and email and in the mail and, whatever else you're doing, right? So you can make it all inclusive, and that way people can get the same message and like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah. You want me to give monthly. So that's the key. And I don't know how many more success stories I have to share, but it's there, and again, but it's not going to be, like, oh yeah, I'll start in January, and in February you're going to have those 100 extra monthly donors that you want. You just gotta chip away at it, but I can guarantee you, if you write down those goals, you're going to get there. If you kind of like put a little bit more time and effort and intent in it, you are going to grow. So it's because, there's that pool of small donors that could, consider making a monthly gift, and they've just never been asked.
They've never been asked. Well, to conclude, I just want to really encourage everyone to check out Erica's website. It's adirectsolution.com. And the 2 books, Monthly Giving the Sleeping Giant, which you generously sent me a copy, and Monthly Giving Made Easy, which I believe I bought the ebook. So I definitely have it. That's the comprehensive how-to guide filled with examples and case studies. And I love the cover. It says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And I say that all the time. So where else can people find you online?
Well, yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is great, just like Google Erica Waasdorp. As far as I know, there's no other Erica Waasdorp around. And I have to be honest, I'm not very active on Facebook or Twitter, but LinkedIn and email is usually the best way to go. So check out my website. And again, sign up for my email list.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the must-read email newsletter. It comes out every
Monday. Yep. And what I do there is it's not just me talking about monthly giving, but it's like I try to pull together studies, trends. If somebody else puts a blog up about monthly giving or some case studies that they've seen, I link to that, so it's not just me talking about monthly giving, but it's other people as well. So, because that's how I learn. And, again, I learn from you, Julia, all the time, so I think that's how we all learn together, by sharing.
I agree. And your email newsletter, a lot of my guests, I do read their email newsletter somewhat infrequently, but I read yours every Monday. I was telling Joe Waters I read his every week too. There are several e-newsletters that I read every single week and look at a lot of the links and the fantastic studies that are in there. So go to adirectsolution.com. We'll put all the links in the show notes. And thanks so much, Erica, for sharing your wisdom. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. All right. I'm going to put on my shirt now.
Yes, me too. Okay. Overthinkers unite. Well, hey there. I wanted to say thank you for tuning into my show and for listening all the way to the end. If you really enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app, and you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. I would love if you left me a rating or a review, because this tells other people that my podcast is worth listening to. And then me and my guests can reach even more earbuds and create even more impact. So that's pretty much it. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. But until then, you can find me on Instagram at JuliaCampbell77. Keep changing the world, you nonprofit unicorn.